Hello, BookTube. I've got a little bit of mail for you here, just a periodical and a couple of packages. The periodical is the New Yorker with an absolutely lovely cover here, the Four Seasons of New York, with all judged by one tree. This has some interesting things in it, uh, including this thing, which I do not know. This is supposed to be a series, a docu-series coming out on Hulu about Hillsong Baptist Church. I do not know that at all. I can't wait to hear what they have to say about it. But the main thing in here that really struck me, the thing that it's excellent. It really is excellent. It's the first thing. Well, one of the cartoons struck me. This cartoon here. You've got a sinking ship. She's on board with a dog, and there's a man in the water there. And the caption says, "I only wish there was room for all three of us." And the reason you're supposed to chuckle at this, I guess, is because you're supposed to think that the thing that makes that funny is that, of course, you would boot the dog off. Of course, who cares about all three of us? He's in the water, and he's obviously more important than the dog. So boot the dog off and put him on. That's what makes it funny. Steve didn't find it funny on that grounds. But the thing that was really noticeable, the thing that really stuck out for me in this issue, I want to get to the cover of it here. It's called The Revolving Door, and it's by Adam Isco. And it's about Jordan Neely, the man who was killed on the subway, on the New York subway, by Daniel Penny, I think his name was. Daniel Penny, yes, an ex-Marine named Daniel Penny. This is the article. That is the picture that goes along with it. The article is riveting, just riveting, about the state of mental health in New York, the state of the hospitals, the emergency rooms, the psych wards and whatnot, how underfunded they are, how understaffed they are, how bombarded they are by 70 or 80,000 cases a year. And the article is on at some great length about that, and takes as its refrain a refrain that I've seen in the news about this subject. Those of you who aren't familiar with the subject, Jordan Neely was having a psychotic episode of some kind or other. He was obviously in mental distress, and was homeless, or seemed to be so, and was on a subway car, a crowded subway car in New York City, yelling at people to give him something to eat, give him money, give him food. He was sounding aggressive. He was saying, "I'm not afraid of going back to prison," etc., etc. And Daniel Penny accosted him, didn't like what he was hearing, and accosted him, put him in a chokehold on the floor of the subway. Someone's recording this whole thing. It's all on tape. And kept him in a chokehold. And I don't mean he kept him in a chokehold until he went limp. And I don't mean he kept him in a chokehold until the transit police at the next station could come over. He kept him in a chokehold for over 15 minutes. He was trained on how to make this chokehold. He was trained on what it is. He knew perfectly well that after 2 or 3 minutes, his victim was subdued. There are people you can hear on the tape saying, "Yeah, I think he's done. You can let him go." And Penny didn't let him go. He maintained the chokehold with the same amount of pressure for over 15 minutes. He knew perfectly well that that would kill the person. That would kill anyone. He knew that perfectly well. And when you watch the video, it's perfectly obvious that that's what's happening. And if you can see it on the video, that means everyone in that car could see it. So I thought the article was really, really good. I want to find this author, see if he's written anything else that I can read. But he keeps saying, we let Jordan Neely down. We didn't give him the mental health resources that he needed to avoid having that episode on the subway. And I don't know if that's true. I think there are legitimate differences that can be had about whether or not a government has any obligation to help the mentally ill, or the indigent, or the homeless, or the hungry. I think there are arguments to be made on either side of whether or not that's true and to what extent it's true. But one thing is definitely true, and it's not even hinted at in this article, nor is it hinted at in much of the coverage that I've seen, which is that if anybody let Jordan Neely down, it was all the citizens of New York watching him get killed. They were all standing around. The only thing that one of them had to do, one person on that train, the only thing that one person had to do was walk over and pull Daniel Penny off his victim. Now, if Penny had refused, well, then you can take the library book that you were bringing back to your branch and bash him over the head with it. He'll let go then. You won't be hurting him. You won't even make a bruise, but he'll let go. He'll be startled then, and he'll let go. And if you had done that in the first 5 minutes, Jordan Neely might be alive today. The whole subway car full of people watch this guy get executed. They're the we here, not we, the New York City Police Department, not we, the overburdened New York City hospital system. Those are the people who let Jordan Neely down. Absolutely fundamentally, without needing to extend this to any kind of political polemic about, where social obligation starts and stops and where you're going to find the money for social programs. That's an interesting discussion to be had, but it was the people who watched him get murdered that let him down. They could have stopped him. Just like with Derek Chauvin putting his knee on the back of George Floyd's neck. There were people all around who could have stopped him. The person who filmed that incident could have stopped him. Instead of filming it, that person could have put their phone in their pocket and threw themselves at Derek Chauvin. They would have knocked him off George Floyd, and that chokehold would not have been resumed. Same thing is true on this subway. All you need to do, the person, I won't vilify Daniel Penny into saying that he's a cold-blooded murderer. But if in a situation like that, you sometimes get locked into what you're doing, and you are the last person to be able to accurately estimate how much time is passing. I'm sure that to him it seemed like he only had Jordan Neely in that chokehold for a minute. I'm sure that it didn't seem to him to be 15 minutes. But nevertheless, you can be knocked out of that stage of mind, and it needs a bystander, and no one did that. As far as I can tell from the recording, no one even suggested it, beyond mildly saying, I think he's done, I think you've subdued him. No cries of saying, hey, get off that guy, hey, stop murdering that guy, hey, we're watching you kill someone. So I had a vigorous reaction to that, but still a very, very good issue. Now let's look at the mail. We'll do the mail, and then we'll be done. Because we can't be flooding the airways with videos when we have so much to do. We have so much work to do. So let's see what this first one is. Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. Didn't know this was coming. This is Mick Herron. This is The Secret Hours by Mick Herron. This comes out in September. All my books are coming out in September. Let's see here. Something happened in 1994 Berlin that forever changed MI5. Very few know that story, and those who do will do anything to keep it secret. Only Mick Herron could write The Secret Hours. The award-winning author sets this standalone in 2 timelines. One in the present, where readers are treated to a bureaucratic comedy of errors worthy of Armando Iannucci, and the other a pulse-pounding flashback to the last days of the Cold War cat and mouse. What follows is everything Mick Herron fans have been waiting for, and the perfect starting place for those new to the game. This book may not be set within the squalid confines of Slough House, but it inhabits the same world as Herron's misfit heroes, and contains an ostrich-sized Easter egg for series fans. Okay, great, fantastic. And there is our author, who is, I want to stress from this picture, a multimillionaire. Who apparently buys his clothes at the Goodwill, apparently cuts his own hair, apparently hasn't changed his pants or shoes in 50 days of intense hiking. Gotta love him. Gotta love him for that. He just hasn't let it go to his head. That's great. So this comes out in mid-September. Very interesting idea. A standalone book in the world, in the shared world of his famous series. And then we have the box, and then we'll be done. We won't waffle on at great length. We'll just do the box, and then we'll be done. Oh, great. Fantastic. Okay, you caught a small glimpse of this book on this channel already, but here we'll go into it. We'll go into it in a little more detail, and then we'll be done. Let's get all this stuff out of the way. This is Journeys of the Mind by Peter Brown. A Life in History. Nice, big, thick thing from Princeton University Press. No sheet on this except for an invoice, so let's just read this. The end of the ancient world was long regarded by historians as a time of decadence, decline, and fall. In his career-long engagement with this era, the widely acclaimed and path-breaking historian Peter Brown has shown, however, that the neglected half-millennium, now known as late antiquity, was in fact crucial to the development of modern Europe and the Middle East. In this book, Brown recounts his life and work, describing his efforts to recapture the spirit of an age. As he and other scholars opened up the history of the classical world in its last centuries to wider world of Eurasia and northern Africa, they discovered previously overlooked areas of religious and cultural creativity, as well as a foundational institution building. A respect for diversity and the outreach to the non-European world, relatively recent concerns in other fields, have been a matter of course for decades among the leading scholars of late antiquity. So this is an academic's biography, and those can often be deadly. In this case, I'm really, really hoping not, because this author is one of my favorites. Let's read his biography here. He is the Philip and Beulah Rollins Professor Emeritus of History at Princeton University, and he is the author of Through the Eye of a Needle, Wealth and the Fall of Rome and the Making of Christianity in the West, which is terrific. I have a copy of that here. He's also the author of The Rise of Western Christendom, Triumph and Diversity, which is great. I have that here. He wrote The Ransom of the Soul, Afterlife, and Wealth in early Western Christianity. And it's great, and I have that here. So he's just a fantastic author. This will be a fantastic feast of a book, I'm hoping. In his histories, his big histories, even when they're on very dry intellectual subjects, he remembers to entertain the reader. So I'm pretty sure that he'll do that in a book like this. We shall see. I don't have a date on this, but it's soon. It's June, I think, or maybe even May. So that's it. That is our mail. That plus a little rant on the New Yorker. We have some fiction from September and some hefty nonfiction that's coming up right away. So there's a little mail. We don't have to go on forever and ever on these mail hauls. So that'll be it. That's all for now. I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.